Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back this wonderful evening, Wednesday evening. And I'm feeling really, really relaxed tonight. So hopefully that shows in my voice. And if you're watching my video, it shows in seeing me. But I just did a quick meditation. I've got my lemon balm tea here and all cozy in my house, in my home office. So I wanted to start tonight kind of along the lines of me feeling really relaxed and inviting you to take a few minutes and just kind of center yourself and slow yourself down and maybe slow your breathing a bit so that your body and mind just kind of mellow out and can be open to receive the message that I have for you tonight. So what I'd like to ask you to do just to begin is to just take a moment and close your eyes or not, depending on your situation and comfort level. But either way, just take a nice deep breath, long deep breath in through your nose. And let's do that together. Then let's hold it for a count of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Breathe out through your mouth. And I'd invite you to do that just a few times as we get started tonight. I'd like to begin by reading a quote that came across my desk this morning, or actually earlier this week, from a professor that I had at the University of Arizona Center for Integrative Medicine a few years ago when I was doing some training in their integrative health and lifestyle program. And the quote is from Robert Frost, and Frost writes, "I am not a teacher, but an awakener. I am not a teacher, but an awakener." And I think that's really a profound idea to think about for all of us, no matter what our vocation, our thinking, our profession in life, same as vocation, what we do with ourselves from day to day. Ram Dass said that we're just here to walk each other home. That's all we're here on the earth for, is to walk each other home. And it's really a wonderful thought, and it goes along with Frost's writing, "I am not a teacher, but an awakener." And I think, when I think of Ram Dass and I think of Robert Frost and putting those ideas together, we're just here to be with each other. We're not here to teach each other anything, but we are here to be kind of an awakening force, a catalyst for them. And in doing that, we help them see things that they already know, but just need a little bit of a nudge to be awakened. So I wish that for all of you, especially as the year comes to an end and we have an opportunity for New Year's resolutions ahead, to see how we can look at others around us and sort of be the catalyst for that awakening within them, without trying to show them the way so much, but to be with them on their way and give them a little bit of insight perhaps that helps them realize things about themselves that they already know. And that, I think, dovetails into tonight's topic, which is, do you know who your relatives are? So I'd like to begin with saying or reminding you that, we're in the countdown to the end of the year holidays. And no matter what your beliefs and traditions, there are many, many different holidays that happen in the month of December. But we're all moving through them in our way, and we're all moving into a new year, which is common for all of us. And in this week's topic, I think is relevant, just as relevant as it is different from what I've been talking about in recent broadcasts. In the series so far, we've been focusing on rediscovering who we really are, in a process that I call Paradise Rediscovered. And indeed, that's critical to living an authentic life. You can't live an authentic life without knowing who you are first. But while the focus on ourselves is critical in this journey, we also need to be mindful of others in our lives, and especially people who play particularly important roles. And that includes our family. And more than ever at this time of the year, family is really present in our thoughts. And by family, though, I want to be clear that I'm talking about our biological relatives, our adoptive family, if perhaps that's your situation, or it's our family of choice. When I worked, I've mentioned this before in episodes that I did some work with individuals who were in very disenfranchised places in their lives, and I still know many in my personal life. And when we're in a disenfranchised place in our life for whatever reason, we often put together what we call a family of choice, and it's a beautiful blessing way to bring people together who nurture us, who can take that role of family on when we're not getting that for whatever reason from the families that we were born into or perhaps adopted into. And regardless of how these families come together for us, these people they have the most influence on our lives throughout our lives, sometimes from birth, and that's what we've talked about before. And as much as they put demands on us that influence and shape who we become, we also influence and try to shape them. And that's what's a little bit different about tonight's talk. So we've talked before about those early years in our lives and how the closest people to us shape us and we learn how to be. And as we get older, we experience challenges in our lives. And those challenges, because of the difficulty that we have negotiating them, kind of gives us a clue that they're occurring because something is not resonating with who we truly are inside. So they give us clues to who we really are if we read them that way. And in working through those challenges, we have the opportunity to reconnect to our authentic self. And that's what I call Paradise Rediscovered. But have you ever thought, though, of the opposite interpersonal transaction? As you get older and you interacted with people who are important to you, again, families in various ways, it's quite likely that you develop the same intolerance for them. And I use that word intolerance not to sound harsh, but it really is an intolerance. But have you ever noticed that you often develop that same intolerance for them and who they really are as they may have had for you? It's human nature. We want what we think is best for others. People do it for us as well. And we go to great lengths sometimes to unconsciously or more overtly to shape them into that mold that we wish for them. And whether that's successful or not, after those formative years, is kind of up for grabs. Usually it's just a frustrating experience for us, despite our best efforts, that they continue to be and do and have what they want, even though we want them to be and do and have perhaps other things. And in that frustration, in our fantasy that somehow they'll change, we neglect to see them for who they really are. So I think of a family member, of course, I like to tell stories, and I have to be careful not to be too specific, but I'm also pretty sure this family member is probably not watching tonight or in a replay. But I think of a family member who's very much an empath. I can see that in my wisdom now. There's a great connection to other people, whether within the family or not, to what they feel, what they're experiencing, what their life is like, their challenges, struggles, and sometimes even their joys. But it tends to be more about these people's struggles that this family member attaches to. And that emotional connection can be so intense sometimes, and usually at my family member's expense. It's not really a winning situation, in my opinion, anyway. And there's this general unrest that they go through. There's anxiety and worry, and maybe some of you can identify with this. In the past, going to sometimes unusual lengths to try to help this other person that they think should be different than they are. There's lost sleep, all kinds of things that are just not very helpful to my family member and certainly don't have an effect on the other people, if you're honest about it. But best intentions aside, this is what they do. And it's always bothered me. It's been a problem for me growing up and observing this and not understanding it, and even still as an adult. But now I want to change that family member, probably because I see some of these same traits in my own life. And that's another story that I like to think about, that I approach things differently. But obviously, if it bothers me that much, I probably do see myself in there. But anyway, it's always bothered me, and I can see now, though, that the bother comes through to this other person, to my family member, as me kind of being intolerant of their behavior. And I just can't let it be. So what does this say? I want to change them, just as they may have wanted to change me when I was younger and shape who I was to fit the world as they saw it. Now I'm trying to change them and asking them to be something that they're not, and trying to change them into seeing the world as I see it. So whenever I get caught up with that, in person, on the phone, or email, I find myself wanting to shut them down, which means literally shutting them down, shutting down their authenticity. And I do that by trying to offer solutions. Sometimes I just brush off their comments or their stories that they tell about the frustrations they have. I change the topic. If we're on the phone, it's really easy to tune out. I can do anything and they would never know it. And just sort of put in a comment or a grunt here and there that makes it sound like I'm more in tune than I am. But I basically want to give the impression in the end that their time is really poorly spent and they really need to butt out of other people's lives. But the point is, when I do any of these things, even if they don't know that I'm doing it, especially over the phone, I don't honor who that family member really is. And I don't honor them for being who they are. So now, as a course, I try to think about the destructiveness of that. Aside to their behavior, I'm being destructive towards them. And if I could find a way to honor who they are, there's a good chance that maybe I could help in a very different way. Maybe I could find a way to support them through the situation without trying to change their behavior or their thinking. So instead of shutting them down, maybe offer them a different kind of support that's useful and again doesn't try to change who they are. And it isn't exactly that. It's exactly the same situation that we deal with when we're kids and we're growing up. We're trying to get people to see us for our authentic selves, for who we really are. So doesn't it make sense that we try to do that for them as well? So Paradise Rediscovered, is more of a web than a path. And as I think about it, as I move through on my journey of rediscovery, I really have to also rediscover who others are as well. So as the holidays get underway this month and into the new year, I encourage you to at least observe yourself in interactions with others and ask yourself, how might I be asking others to be inauthentic to who they are, especially when I feel, and maybe passionately like I do with this family member, by suggesting that they could get along better by being or doing something else? It's really unfair. So how might I instead of asking them to be authentic, even if I feel I'm right, how can I change the way I interact with them in a way that honors and supports who they are in being authentic, but still supports my thought that perhaps they need to approach things in a different way? It's an interesting thing to play with this holiday, and I promise you, though, if you do it, if you really intentionally try this out, even play with it a little bit, you'll suddenly come to understand who your relative really is. Maybe just a bit more, but probably for the first time, you'll have an authentic interaction, and I promise you that you will, in that process, rediscover another piece of the puzzle of who you really are. So I thank you for listening, and as always, scroll down, let us know your thoughts. Whether you're on Facebook, you can do that right on the page, or go to drmarkacuri.com. You can do it in the comments on the Facebook Live's archives page. If you're listening to a podcast, you can go to drmarkacuri.com/contact and send us a note. We'll incorporate those notes into future episodes. And I'd really love to have the opportunity to keep that conversation going with you in support of your authenticity. And while you're at it, be sure to enter this month's free giveaway using the subscribe links on Facebook or drmarkacuri.com. On every page, you'll see an opportunity to join in on the free giveaway that we have. We do that every month, for different reasons. And be sure to join us next week when our topic is going to be, I see God in everyone. So lots of love and gratitude. I appreciate you very much. This is Dr. Mark in Santa Fe, New Mexico, signing off for tonight. Good night.